All right, folks, we are back. And so what do I want to do here? Because we now have, a JSON structure file. I want to start implementing the backend front end, right? So I'm not going to use, what do you call it? What is it called? Streamio. We're not doing that. Gradio. We're not doing that. I wonder if we should use Phaser for this or not. The challenge is that if we use Phaser, I'm not sure if it can interpret the Japanese characters. If you don't know what Phaser is, it's actually a game framework. The Typing Tutor app is built on it. So if we go to Phaser JS here, it has a bit more interactivity, things that we can do with it. But technically, everything that we're doing here doesn't necessarily require this because what we're doing is pretty straightforward. It just depends on what level of interactivity we want to have inside the game. So, if we use HTML React, it's going to be a lot easier. But then if we want to have transitions and things like that, it might not be as nice. So I'm very tempted to use Phaser for this. And I think we'll just give it a go and we'll use Gemini and see how well it does. So I'm going to go over to here. And so we obviously have like static files right now. So I'd say like we don't even need to really write a server per se, but I'm going to go back and open up this and we're going to switch over because I keep saying that I'm going to do it. So we're going to go over here and we're going to switch over to Gemini Flash 2.0. And so what I want to do is I want to start building my game. So, I am building a visual novel game. And maybe this comes back down to writing this tech spec, right? So I don't know. We'll say I'm building a visual novel game for Japanese language learning. I want to build it in Phaser.js. Can you build it for me? Take a look at my visual novel docs. So the visual novel tech spec and the story structure spec. Okay. So hopefully between those two resources it can, but I kind of feel like it needs a little bit more to know. So I say I'm going to read this. First, I need to read the contents of the files to understand them. Okay. Please do that. And so right away, it's having a hard time. It's already failing. So I think maybe if it didn't have to read files, it'd be less of an issue. But you can see here, understand the requirements, and it's having an issue. So sorry, I guess we just can't really work with that right now. So I'm going to go back over to ChatGPT. I do like GPT 4.0, but I'm going to 4.5. I'm going to go clone it. So please try again. Because I just have to switch back to this. We're just struggling. Maybe like if I use Gemini Flash, not in Windsurf, and copied and paste, or maybe if I had more of my code base along, it'd have less of an issue. But right now, it's having a hard time reading the stuff. So I'm just going to have to just do this manually, or like with Claude. I really wanted to use Gemini. It like really seemed very impressive. But maybe it might be better for like text generation. Maybe that's what it might be better for. But right now, like maybe if we want to build LLMs into the game, we'll do that. But I guess Gemini is just not really working out as we hoped here in Windsurf. So here it's going to check, and it's just analyzing the file. It's really just checking everything to understand the code structure. So it's going to go ahead and create an XHTML file. There is a very particular way I like to build up my Phaser games, but I don't have it in here. I could bring in the code over so we would know, but it's totally fine. So let's take a look here at the index.html as it's going. So here we have boot screen, preload screen, menu, game, language, help score. I know Phaser, and if you don't, then that's a bummer. But here it says Phaser 3.55. What is the latest version of Phaser? So that's another question I have is if we go over to here, what version of Phaser do we have? So we'll go to Phaser.js GitHub because I want to make sure that it's using the latest version and not an older version. So we go into here. It says version 4. Is version 4 out? Here it's saying 388. So it's interesting, like we have 388, but then it's talking about Phaser 4. So Phaser 4, I don't think Phaser 4 is even out. Core rendering engine fixes in the latest issue. So the fourth release of Phaser 4 essential fixes to arcade physics, resolving several issues. The stack group mechanism has been overhauled. The engine now handles failed textures under the hood. The rendering pipeline improves the render streamline. You can use Phaser 4 here over here in beta. Again, I'd probably just stick with 3. This is using 3.55. There's been quite a few changes since then. If we go back over to here, I mean, there's just a few version differences, right? But if we go over to releases, we can see like how far out are we with this beta over here? So I don't know. I kind of wanted to use the latest. But I'm going to let it continue on there. And after maybe once it works with what it's working with, we'll have less of an issue. This is actually how I would start to implement it. I would just go and make an index file and then load them this way. And I would use HTTP server to serve it, which is actually what we did before. Give this a nice refresher. We'll go into the JavaScript directory. Probably wouldn't call it JS, but that's fine. That doesn't matter. I do think we might have it's over here. I'm not sure why it's top level like that, but that's totally fine. We can fix that after it's done generation. But let's go take a look at what it's doing. So here it's adding the scenes. So it starts the game, adds the scenes. This makes sense. We have boot, preload, menu, game, language help. I'm not sure if we need this scene, but it's interesting that it did that. Here it extracted out the configuration, which is fine. 1280 by 720. Technically our graphics are 1920 by 1080, so it would actually have to scale down for that to fix it. I might want to bump that back up to 1920 by 1080 as that's more of a default screen. Here it has some game settings, so that might be interesting. So it does have some settings in here, which is kind of cool. We'll go over to scenes. We have our boot screen here. It's loading in graphics. We have our assets UI. It's loading it. I'm not sure why it's doing this. I guess it's a placeholder image. We don't have a placeholder image, so I'm not sure why it's doing that in particular. We'll go over to our menu. It's bringing in Noto Sans JP, which is not a bad idea. Though I'm not sure how it's going to leverage that unless we already have that font downloaded. So that's kind of a bit of a challenge there. I know for these games, I like to change the configuration as much as I can to get exactly what I want. So that might be something that we do here. I'm going to go over to the preload screen. Let's take a look here. Create loading bar, assets, characters, backgrounds. It's actually doing a kind of a decent job here. I don't know if we need a loading bar, as it should be able to load this pretty good here. It's trying to add a bunch of assets we don't have. So I'm not sure as to why it's doing that. It's still going, which is really, really good. But yeah, it's actually doing quite an impressive job. I'm going to wait until this is gets to the end and we'll take a look here. But clearly there's a lot of assets that it's asking for that aren't here. And then this stuff is not even in the correct directory. So we're going to have some challenges here. I'm not sure why it stopped here, but we'll say, do you need to keep going? Because I'm not sure why it stopped here. Okay, so we'll let it continue on here. It's having a little bit of trouble proceeding here, which is a bit frustrating here. But while we're waiting here, we might as well take a look and see what we have. So in the menu, I guess the question, like, where is the main game? I'm assuming it hasn't implemented that yet. As we go back to our main file here, boot, preload, menu, game. So I don't see a game.js yet, and that's probably what it's trying to work on next. Here it is. I'll create the game scene, which is the most important part of the visual novel. I'd say it is. So I guess I'll just wait for this to generate. Here it's failing on the game scenes. I'm gonna just first of all, I'm gonna go over to thinking and just be like, okay, you keep airing out, trying to make the game scene. Can you break it down into smaller tasks so that you are writing something, right? And so I'm going to just kind of help it out there. I switched it over to the thinking model. Okay, so it's going to think. First, we need to create a basic scene with a structure. Then I'll create the method for handling the dialogue system. Then I'll create methods for handling choices. Finally, I'll add a method for scene transitions, saving and loading. This approach should help avoid errors. So now it's going to go ahead here, and we'll come back and well, at least now what we can do. So we don't even have to. We don't have to like wait around. We can actually kind of see what it's doing. So here it's bringing in game. I see it's setting up some of the properties. I'm not sure how it knows about these properties, as it's not extending anything. But I guess the thing is that over here we have the game configuration. Specific global settings. Maybe this is something I haven't really used before, but yeah, it has the config here. Okay, so maybe then it's just available to the game everywhere it is. But this is game dot whatever. If we go over to here, This isn't extending the game in particular. So how does it know about that? I guess over here we have game settings, current scene, otherwise scene 001. Okay, so I'm, again, not sure. I guess maybe it's saying like the current game, this is the settings that were here, and then there's global configuration settings, which I guess is fine. Yeah, that's fine, I guess. That makes sense. I'd probably extract this out into its own data file, as that would make more sense. So here, so I have load dialog data, start the dialog data. Let's create the background. Here it sets it to the apartment. It really shouldn't be hard coding stuff. Here it's setting as Alex, which is the initial scene, which is fine. Then we have our dialog box, which is fine. Again, we don't have any graphics for those. It's setting the font, which is Arial. I'm not sure if we should be using Arial, but here we have the Japanese text. I guess that makes sense. We have create UI controls, which is good as well. So lots of stuff going on. We'll wait till it's done. All right, so what do we have here? So let's check the config.js to make sure it's all required. So great, now finalize the game scene and implementation. So we have a lot going on here. I'm gonna move it around a bit because first of all, I'm just not, it's not where I want things. I'm gonna call this public. Okay, that's the first change I'm gonna make. Actually, let me change the file finally. And the other part is that we have scenes data in here, but I'm gonna go and drag this into public as well. We say yes, we're gonna move it. I don't know why it just doesn't, it gives me that error there. But where did our stuff go? Where did our stuff go? It's almost like it deleted it, which is insane. Yeah, like, look, it just deleted them. I didn't say to delete them. So we'll go say, and we'll say discard changes because we don't want to get rid of those files. We want to keep them around. And so this is where I think the number one feature I'd like Windsurf to add is like right click, be able to find something, Explorer. It's always frustrating can't be able to find something. So I'm going to go into, I'm just doing this off screen here as we have all of our assets here. I'm going to rename this directory to data as it's just struggling with that there. And then I'm going to drag this into public. Okay, and so now I have this public directory with everything I need in it. Then our data is in here. This outputs directory is redundant, I guess. Yeah, now we have double of things. Go back here. I'm just gonna make sure that everything is in here. Yep, it is. Okay, I'm just gonna delete this outputs directory. So now it has this new structure. It's still gonna show maybe this outputs directory. Nope, that's fixed. I'm gonna go ahead and just add all this here. I don't care, it's fine, just add it all. Everything, I want everything, there we go. Just say WIP in progress. And so now what we'll do, now that we have that, I'm gonna need HTTP server to run this. I'm gonna CD back until we get to our visual novel. And I think I have HTTP server already installed. You can do npm install HTTP server. If you've never done this before, we'll go ahead and do that. That's gonna globally install that package everywhere. And so if we do HTTP server, it should now serve the public directory. If it's not that, then it's the build directory. So yeah, it's already serving it, which is perfect. So I'm gonna go over to any kind of browser here. You can see a bunch of stuff going on here. And we'll go ahead and we'll say localhost, was it 8080? I think it defaults to. And so we're in here. What it's not loading is the index.html page. So I'm gonna go ahead, I got some stuff off on the tab there. So why is that not working? Also, we'll go back over to here for a second. I'd like to sync those changes if I can. Sync changes, please, thank you. But we'll go back over to here. And I don't think this is in here. So we'll bring this into the public directory, we'll move it. So now everything that CSS should be in there too, I guess. We'll move that as well. I'd probably put it under the assets. I don't like it hanging around there. Not that there's much going on here, but we'll go back over to here and to here. We'll give this a nice refresh. And so it should, in theory, serve that index.html. It's not. So I'm going to go back over to here. I'm going to stop it, start it again. So maybe it can detect that that file is actually there. We'll go back over to here, give this a refresh. And it is still not serving it. That's kind of frustrating. Let's go back over to here. I could have swore we have our index.html in our correct location. It is, it's in the public directory. So why isn't it serving it then? right? Because if it's here, right? So serve it, please. I'm going to go ahead and open up Inspector. Maybe it's caching it. So just by opening this, sometimes this fixes the caching issues here. And yeah, it does now. Just make sure when you're on your network tab that you have disabled cache so you can have stuff. So now we have this. It's clearly not working, which is fine. I kind of expect that because we let it write a lot of the code. It's saying can't load a bunch of the stuff, right? So error 404, JS not found. It's because it's hard coded for this JS directory. This is where I'm going to kind of maybe drive for a little bit and adjust the code. So right here it's saying JS scenes. This is not true. So where is this stuff? I mean, we have a directory specifically for scenes, which is here, which is fine. And so I'm going to just take this out like this. And the config is right here like this. Okay, and that's the first thing we're fixing here. So we'll go back over to our browser, which is here. This nice hard refresh. And so now we'll take a look at the next thing. So here there's a bunch of assets that don't exist, right? Which is fair. That doesn't mean that it's going to break. It just means that we're not going to see stuff here, as we don't really have all these assets. But it's saying like it doesn't know where these folks are because it's going assets, audio. So a bunch of audio stuff, which I guess we'd probably want that stuff. Let's go take a look and see what it's doing. So if I go back over to here, we have our main.js, right? And so this is going to load up Phaser. It's going to add scenes and go to the boot scene first. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe comment out this, like these here. Oops. And let's just take a look at our boot scene. So what is our boot scene doing? It's loading a background, loading a bar, load minimal assets needed for loading screen. So that's kind of interesting. I'm going to go back over to here. I'm not sure if I have to stop it every time, but I'm going to go ahead and just stop and start. I don't think I have to, but just in case I do, I'm going to keep doing that. So we'll give this a nice hard refresh. And so I'm just trying to get less errors right now. That's all I'm trying to focus on. Just trying to get this down, pared down so I don't see any errors here. And so these obviously need to be in here. Then we have a bunch of assets we don't have. So we'll go back over to here. Assets normally get loaded in the preload stuff. So this is really just the boot screen. But if we go over to our preload scene, this is where it's trying to load all of our assets, right? So we have characters, which is fine. And it's trying to load them into the assets here, which is actually data assets. I suppose like we could just separate this out from data and assets and drag this up one layer like this. And then now data is just data and scenes, and now assets are assets. But notice when I dragged it up, oh no, it's still there, okay. It's there, and so that's going to resolve some of our issues. Here's going outputs, which is fine, this is actually data. So that resolved that. I guess background music is not a bad idea for some of these scenes. I didn't even think about that, which is kind of cool. I can't remember what Brian was using when he made the Bootcamp song, but we could probably use that to make some cool background music. Data scenes. Where's the users though? Assets, scenes, background. I mean, that is technically correct, yep. But what I'm looking for here is this, yeah, assets, characters. Yeah, so that, are they PNGs? They are PNGs. Okay, so that's gonna resolve, should resolve quite amount of the errors here. So go back over to this, and we'll go here, get this a nice refresh. And so now, it's just UI and background music that's the problem, right? So maybe we can get like some background music. So generate looping background music, video games. Like, is that something we can do? Looping background music, Gen AI, is it something we can generate out? Cut the sound, maybe increase the volume for the first 2 seconds. I'm just, again, trying to find something. How to make looping BGM. Looping music. Not loops. Auto loop your music with AI. Create seamless loops for electronic music backgrounds and stuff. That sounds good to me. I'm not sure what the pricing is for this product. Free for trial. Okay, well, I'm going to give it a try here. Sign up, it's free. And then Baker's like, what are you spending money on? Because you got to remember to turn these services off. I just need the music. Again, you know, you don't have to have music if you don't want to. You could just not have it in there. Or we could just have like looping sound that is ambient sounds. Sure, we'll make that my handle. I don't care. I don't care. Sure. Let me do that. Skip tour. I don't want a tour. I just want to generate music. So generate AI music. Loop. We want the music to loop. So here we want compose an adrenaline pumping song. We don't want that. We want a song that is instrument, vibe, theme. We have background, like podcast background, TV soundtrack, web series soundtrack. I kind of like how this is film background score, tutorials. I mean, gaming would be correct. But we'll clear this out for a second. We have gaming. Vibe. Calm. Instrumental. Speed. Slow. It's like, I don't know, background music for a cafe. Like, I don't know. This is always the challenge, is trying to figure this out. So we'll go ahead and we'll just generate that out and we'll see what we get. I don't know if we'll get anything that is any good. I think the audio will pick up here. I'll have to just check my system sound to see if it picks it up. But, you know, I don't want to spend too much time on this. We could also just try to find like existing music. I probably can download. I have a subscription to Envato, so I could just go there and find some music and be happy with it. Don't always have to generate things out, but if we can, I mean, it just adds to the boot camp here. We also might just want ambient sounds, right? I'll give this a moment to generate out, okay? Now it's also just generating that out, so I don't know. It seems like it'll take a bit of time. I just need, it's gonna take forever to fill these in. Let's go here, back to this. We have click sound. Oh, but it's also not loading the assets here. Huh. Because they definitely exist now, right? I'm gonna close this tab out. I don't necessarily trust it. We'll go back over to our language visual novel here. We'll go ahead and hit inspector. And is it still having issues loading the characters? Because that should be loading. Yeah, it's not. It's, well, first of all, these are JPEGs, right? So that's clearly wrong. So we'll go back over to Windsurf here, and characters are PNGs, but these I believe are JPEGs, right? If we check here, yeah. So that's one definite issue that we have here. And I'm going to go back over to here, give this a nice refresh. Whoops. And we'll inspect this again. And so we have, okay, so that's resolved now. Great. And so now it really is just music. Well, no, characters. Assets, characters, Yuki.png. Oh, is it just Yuki that's a problem? Why can't they load Yuki? Let's go back over to this. That was like our first character, right? Oh, there's a spelling mistake. Here we go. We'll go back over to this. Give us a nice refresh. Yuki should be now good. Fair enough. And still working, so Anyway, I guess we should really try to see something here. So now, I mean, I'm not really worried about all those other assets not loading. So I'm going to go back over to the main.js. I'm going to go to the menu scene. I mean, we're going to need more assets here to make the game work, which is fine. But I'll go back over to here, give this a refresh. Menu music missing cache. So yeah, I'm going to have a serious problem here. So I'm going to go to Envato. I mean, you can get music wherever you want, but I pay for Envato, so I want to use it. And so I'm going to go here and try to find some music. I'm going to sign in here. Give me just a moment. All right, so I'm back in here, and I'm going to go over to music. Right, there's probably free sources, or just don't have music in your game. But I'm trying to find, there should be categories, right? All music, ambient. Funny, quirky. I mean, really what I want is looping. Loop, 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 loop. Looped, that's the first thing. That's kind of fun if there was a French area. I'll be back here in a second, okay? All right, so I got one that I like, but I think that's what I'm just going to stick with is the one audio file for now because it's going to be too much work if I have to do other stuff here. So I'm going to just ask it to refactor it. So, you know, I changed the structure of the files. I fixed most of them in the code. I only have a single track for background music. Can we just use that? It's called bg.wave in the audio directory. Okay, because I don't have time to figure out all this. And I think like even that requires some thinking and engineering in terms of like how to make all that stuff seamless and stuff. And I don't have time to figure that out. So we're just going to let this generate out, okay? Sure did a lot to fix that, which is, I'm not sure, I'm not going to check all that, but we'll go ahead and we'll start up the server again. We'll go over to here and we'll see what errors we get now. But I mean, we've really simplified it so that I didn't mean really to close that. I might have to go back to that, get some sound effects. But we go ahead and inspect this. Now we have music menu music is missing from the cache. So, you know, I don't understand. Like I thought, hey, I thought we are only using one music for BG now, right? Like why am I getting this? Come on, buddy. Are you even doing what I'm asking you to do, or you're off doing something else? Oh, you're gonna fix that. Okay. It's like it didn't even do what I asked it to do. It was just like off doing something else. Oh, we'll just wait for that to fix. All right, now it's here saying like all the sound effect. It's freaking not listening. It's just doing whatever. And this is where I find, again, Claude 3.7 frustrating. Because it can't, everything can't be the same sound effect. But hey, we got a game here. Nihongo, gak something. Shows how much Japanese I know. Gak something. Do. Ji. Ju. Aruso. Beru. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, but the point is that we do have graphics, despite it being quite ugly. I was thinking it was going to be a lot more difficult than this. But if we go over to here, you know, still lots of graphics not low. That's fine. We don't have certain click sounds. That's fine. Click audio is missing from cache. As long as it doesn't break anything, that's fine. Let's go ahead and see if we can. Oh, there's our audio. Really, really loud, that audio there. Okay, and so it only plays when we have it selected. That's good to know. Can we go over to our settings here and maybe turn down the default setting as it's really loud? I'm going to bring it down to a 0, 1 as that is just blaring out my ears. I apologize for that loud noise. We're going to go back over to the game. I'm going to have to give it a hard refresh here. And so I'm hoping. Yeah, so now it's a lot more manageable. I'm going to go back over to here. And it's really impressive that we have as much as we do here. But I still want to bring it down a little bit more. I'm going to go 0.5 if that's even something we can do. And we'll go back over to here. Give this a refresh. There we go. Ooh, that's nice. Now it's saying click missing sound, so maybe we should get a click sound in here. I'm going to go back over to Avado. Avatico. I can't ever spell it. Avataco. Audio. I don't know. I can't. Envato. There we go. I'm going to get some sound effects. I'll be back in just a moment as I pick out some sound effects. All right, so I have a sound effect for a click and a transition for typing. I don't know if we need that. That would be like with making that sound. And I don't know if I could even find that. I didn't even look for one. But even if it did, it would have to play during the time it does that. So I'd have to go and say like, you know, video game message typing. Like, I don't even know how you'd call that.
Audio jungle.
Right, so it'd have to be
Audio jungle.
Yeah, like I'm not sure what that would be, so we're gonna keep that out of here for now. I'm gonna go close this out for now, and I'll probably just get rid of that. We'll give this a nice refresh. So it really shouldn't make a noise until we actually click. So there's a few things, which is like, we'll just reject this. So we don't have a typing noise. The other thing is our game is 1920 by 1080. The click should only happen when you actually click a button. Can we update those? Okay, but one thing that was interesting is the fact that we actually had the player loaded in here. So we might go back here, just take a look here just for fun. And wow, it did type out. The only thing is that the text is a little bit messed up here. We have some icons around here. So yeah, we can figure out the resolution. That'll be nice. Probably what we really want to do is fix it to 1960 by 1680. But it'd be nice if there was some way that we could... this never seemed to actually finish. It seems like it takes forever. But coming back over to Windsurf, yeah, it'd be better if it like scaled based on the size of the game, and that's kind of what would probably be better, because if you're playing this game, right, and you have a smaller screen than 1920 by 1080, even though this is smaller than 1920 by 1080, that would resolve some issues for us. But here, we're going to wait for it to update that code there. All right, and so we have some improvements here. Fix the sound play for the clicks using the full resolution. I think that resolution is going to be a problem for us in just a moment here. We'll go ahead and give this a nice refresh, and we'll click into here so we have some music. It's still doing what it's not supposed to be doing. Like, it's still making the click sound on hover. It's only supposed to happen on click. So I'm not sure what's going on here. I guess we could go look at our menu screen here for a second. And it's going to try to figure it out as it goes here. But it says pointer down, pointer out, pointer over. It's right here, right? That's what it's doing that has to get out of here. Like, I don't know why it's doing that. The other thing is, like, it's maybe having the same button constantly, and so some of this code should be refactored out. Because it is a bit repetitive. It's not going to hurt the game in any way, but you'd have to delete it here and then here. It's interesting, like here it says volume 0.5. I'm not sure why it does that when over here it's like that. Play the click sound. But this is where probably what I would do is, yeah, again, I would refactor these out as separate components in here, because there's obviously reusable stuff and we're setting things over and over and over again. And this makes it more work for the LLM because it has to go and update in all these places, which is a bit silly, right? So Mm-hmm. Update the menu. Okay, and so we'll go back over to the game now. Okay, good. Okay. What's strange is like, even though it's 1920 by 1080, I guess it's fixed based on that size. The resolution's obviously now better, so it's actually scaling to whatever it is. And so this bounding box is what's limiting it. It's a little bit hard to see if we're going out on here, but we have Alex. We'll go make a new game. Kind of messes this up. We'll refresh this here. So you wake up in your... Yeah, so there's some typing issues, right? So I'm going to go back over this, and I'm going to commit what we have currently. I got to go eat some dinner, so I'm going to have to do a pause here. But I'm going to go just add all this. So game starting to work. Right, the audio is still a little bit too loud for my taste, and so I'm going to go back over to the config here. And I'm just going to really bring it down, really bring it down to like 1. And this is also kind of high. It's hard on my ears. I'll bring that down to 2. So, you know, first of all, it's like the, you know, I think it's this index HTML, index CSS. Right. So for the game for the game container, can we just have it scale to fit the screen, the available window? In the HTML CSS, because that's gonna probably resolve some of our issues here, like being able to actually see stuff. But then we have the typing issue, so the typing is not typing as good as it could. Question is like, do we need typing? Because it really depends, because if you have a game where you have audio, right, I would kind of prefer that each audio step is said and the word is shown when it's said. And we can actually get that if we export out the audio stuff, but it really just depends on you know, how we work with it here. So here, okay, so it's made the changes. We're going to stop and start this again. That's a nice refresh here. So now it's scaling. That's perfect. Okay, so this is better. It's still hard to see the font down here, and I can't tell what's going on. There should be a button to actually click. So, you know, there should be a button that you click to advance the story. I click anywhere, and it advances, which is right. And so that's one thing that I'd like to fix. Anyway, I'm going to go stop the video here. I'll be back in a separate one, but in the next video, we're just basically refining this, trying to get the buttons all working correctly, getting the graphics in, just trying to improve the experience for that initial scene. And then once that scene is solved, then we can go and then try to finalize stuff. The typing experience, I'm not sure. Like, again, I'd like to have audio files maybe, but we'll see, okay? I'll be back in a bit.